Welcome to my video project, for which I decided to look at the work of Berlin-based master florist Nicolaus Peters. Nicolaus has specialised for many years in the art of ikebana. In 1999 he graduated as a florist, and by 2005 he obtained the title of master florist with Ursula Wegner. In 2006 he achieved the title of master instructor of ikebana, reaching the rank of Komon. A keen competitor, Nicolaus won the state championship of floral art in Germany in 2008, and since then he has won several international awards, including Champion of Germany, Gold in Singapore and Alp Adria Cup. For 20 years he has been a renowned Berlin florist who teaches courses all over the world. The composition of his line and movement collection on Floral is the area I was interested in. Nicolaus believes that flowers and arrangements should feel comfortable within a design and be treated with respect. His line and movement collection on Floral shows the simplicity of his compositions and balance created with materials chosen. Nicolaus uses tangled wires and medallino sticks or rattan to create curved lines in his designs, and materials are fed through which appear to dance in all directions, some of the floral materials integrated within the designs and some protruding out to create a dynamic design with movement. As you can see on this first sketch, the design will sit on a stand with metal legs and a wooden top. The two slim wooden planks will be sprayed gold and have small holes drilled in them to allow the medallino sticks to be fed through. The medallino sticks chosen are black and they will contrast against the flower materials. The flowers will be woven through the design, and the stems will sit in small orchid glass vases which will be glued to the side of the planks of wood. The planks of wood will measure approximately 55 centimetres long, and they will be wired onto the stand. I will consider using bear grass, steel grass and flexigrass for the colour and for the texture. As you can see on this more detailed sketch, this is the top view of the design. Some of the techniques I choose to use are weaving, gluing, lacing, and a caging effect of the medallino sticks, which will cage some of the lower materials. The flowers I'm looking at using are Allium, Clematis, Dendrobium, Chasmanthium, and, as mentioned earlier, some of the grasses if required. Also, there'll be Scabiosa seed pods to give a different texture and to add some dried material. The finished length of design should be approximately 60 centimetres long, and the height should be approximately 40 centimetres. As part of the preparation for the design was to drill the fine holes for the medallino sticks to be threaded through the planks of wood. The next process will be to spray them gold. Here you can see the mechanics that will be used: the medallino sticks, the scissors, some bullion wire for attaching the medallino together, some orchid vases which will hold the water. There is a glue gun to attach the vases to the wooden sticks, and there is also a box and a stand, as the original stand that I had planned was not available, so I need to come up with a second design. This part of the process is experimenting with the Medalino and how it will feed through the holes in the wood, and then also how rigid it will be and whether it will actually hold up once the glass bottles are attached. Once it was finished, it wasn't exactly how I'd planned, so I did undo it and made a neater job of it the second time round for the finished design. Flowers. Part of the process was to glue the glass bottles to the wooden frame and then start adding the flower content. Adding the flower content was harder than I initially thought. The Medalino sticks were quite flexible, and had I used something like a black solder wire, this could have been stronger and more supportive. Eventually I managed to find a way of how to get the flowers through the mesh. Once I tried the dendrobium orchids, I found that they were too stiff and they didn't have enough flexibility to actually get into the design. They were going to also be too dominant in the design, so I decided not to include those. So I just used all the other materials which were much more delicate. The clematis, when I added that, I felt as well that the foliage was affecting the design and it was just squashing within, so I decided to cut some of the foliage out and just let the flowers speak for themselves. The design started to come together and I created some good balance throughout the design and distributed all the materials well. The flowers that I had chosen had different form, different textures, the allium being soft and fluffy. The scabiosa was quite a rough texture with it being dried, but it had some sort of good texture with it in that it was sort of crinkly effect, and it had a nice round form but still smaller than the allium, so a good contrast. The clematis, being a 4-petaled flower, gave a different shape with the pointy petals, and the Chasmanthium, the nice little petals were sprayed gold, and they gave a different form. They were flat, but the shininess was a good contrast between the dull allium and other materials, especially the scabiosa. The design is asymmetrical and a modern vegetative style. The flowers all have a water source, as each stem was placed in the glass bottles which were securely attached to the wooden slats. The flower contents winds its way through the design from the various points of growth in the container, that is, the glass vases attached to the wooden slats. The materials are directed horizontally and some are slightly diagonal, with no materials facing upwards or downwards directly. This constructed design consists of winding materials creating curved lines with fresh materials interwoven through the structure, and all materials intertwining to create rhythm and harmony. There is no specific focal area, but there are various areas of interest through the different textures and materials chosen. The shiny Chasmanthium attracts the eye with the glisten of the gold, and the larger allium add dominant areas due to the size and shape of the materials. The overall design is interesting through its structure of the curved medallino sticks and the materials feeding through, and all raised on a stand to give further drama and to give some extra height to the design. If I was to do this design again, I would seriously consider looking at the flower content. The flowers that I actually used were quite easy, and they did have some flecks on them, but something like maybe a tulip would have more flecks, or even something like a calla if it was left out of water, to give more flexibility. The reason why I didn't use the dendrobiums is they were simply just too rigid to use and would not have made the design any better. They could have swamped all the other flowers.